like I said. Now, through the rest of Saturday into the evening and overnight, still a mixture then by this point of clear spells and showers. Some of the showers again could be quite heavy, particularly towards the north and the west, still wintry over higher ground in particular. But in those clear skies, with that cold air in place once again, it will turn chilly. Temperatures in towns and cities probably hovering just above freezing, but colder than that in the countryside. So again, we could see some frost and ice around. So as we start Sunday morning, then generally a brighter start to the day compared to Saturday morning. Some sunshine first thing. Still, though, some showers towards the north and the west. Again, wintry in places. Through the day, some of those showers will start to feed their way eastwards, and we could see a more organised band of rain and hill snow through the afternoon. Temperatures a little bit lower than they will be on Saturday. I think feeling chilly if you're in those showers. Quick look ahead to the early part of next week. Then a lot of cloud around, some patchy rain in places, but gradually turning drier through the week and staying mild.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Bit of TV history for you here at GB News. I am Mark Dolan. You're watching the premiere episode of Weekend Headliners. That's right, I'll be in the host's chair every Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 11, tackling the big stories from tomorrow's newspapers with the creme de la creme of British comedic talent. But first, the headlines with Karen.
Thank you, Mark. These are the headlines. More than 1,000 military personnel have been brought in to help with the vaccine rollout in parts of the UK. The armed forces are supporting the NHS in England, Scotland and Wales as hospital staff absences rise 59% in a week due to isolation. This comes as the Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, warns that 70% of patients in intensive care with COVID are unvaccinated. Bupa's former Chief Medical Officer, Andrew Vallance-Owen, has told GB News the move is positive for the NHS.
People should be reassured that we've had the sense to bring the army in. We saw during the crisis last year that the Nightingale hospitals were almost built and staffed by the army, and they did a brilliant job.
Thousands of flat owners could be spared the cost of removing dangerous cladding from buildings taller than 11 metres in new government plans. Housing Secretary Michael Gove is instead set to put pressure on developers to cover the expenses, estimated to cost up to £4 billion. In a Treasury letter, he suggests there'll be no more money from the government to pay for changes. Currently in England, only leaseholders in buildings over 18 metres can get a grant to replace unsafe cladding. Downing Street says England's new relaxed travel rules won't affect the country's ability to detect COVID variants. Travellers no longer need to take a pre-departure COVID test before returning to England from today. But they must do a lateral flow test when they arrive. Industry expert Paul Charles told GB News that previous travel restrictions were not effective. Labour MP Jack Dromey has died suddenly at his flat in Birmingham. He was 73. It's understood he died of natural causes. The Labour Party has issued a statement on behalf of his family and his wife, who is long-serving Labour MP Harriet Harman, saying he'd been a dedicated MP for Birmingham Erdington since 2010 and will be greatly missed. And Hollywood actor Sir Sidney Poitier has died. He was 94. The Bahamian-American star won an Oscar for Best Actor for his role in Lilies of the Field. He was the first black man to win the coveted award, helping to pave the way for generations of African-American actors. Whoopi Goldberg is among those paying tribute, saying Poitier showed us to reach for the stars. And Lenny Kravitz says, Sir Sidney Poitier, the doors you opened and paths you created will continue to make way for those with a dream. You showed the world that with vision and grace, all is possible. You are right up to date. Now back to Headliners.
Before we begin, let's start, as always, with the headlines from tomorrow's front pages. And we'll start with the Express. And quite an enviable headline. Fearful Britons sitting on a cash pile of 1.7 trillion quid. Careful families have built up a giant savings pot worth 1.7 trillion in the pandemic. Households are now torn between spending as COVID rules are relaxed and keeping cash for rising bills. Meanwhile, Hollywood trailblazer Sidney Poitier dies at the age of 94. We'll be discussing that story about that remarkable guy and his incredible career in the next couple of minutes. The Sun newspaper, Denise ditches phone sex fiancé. That's a very good old school 80s style Sun headline. Heartbroken telly star Denise Van Outen has ditched her fiancé after discovering he's been having phone sex and dates with other women. I've never done phone sex. My phone just isn't big enough. The I newspaper, NHS exodus. Medics leave en masse after grim 2 years. Early signs that the spread of Omicron is slowing among some age group, say officials. So that's a mixed bag, really. Bad news for recruitment and manpower in the NHS, but good news in terms of the trajectory of the virus. Let's have a look at the Times now. New defence chief warns of Russian threat at sea. The head of the armed forces has warned Russia that any attempt by Moscow to sever crucial underwater communication cables could be considered an act of war. Admiral Satoni Radakan, who the Times needlessly reminds us is 56, he's the chief of the defence staff, has raised concerns about the increase in Russia's underwater activity. There's been a phenomenal increase in Russian submarine and underwater activity over the last 20 years, he told The Times. He might be 56, but he's looking good on it. Now, let's have a look at the Telegraph. Fourth jabs won't be necessary, say experts. Fourth jabs are not currently needed, according to the government's scientific advisors, as evidence grows that Omicron is far milder than previous variants. Perhaps we should have paid more attention to what the South African authorities were telling us when news of this new variant emerged many weeks ago. The Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation, the JCVI, announced last night that boosters continue to provide high levels of protection against severe disease from Omicron in older adults, including the most vulnerable. So overall, you've got to say it's a good news story. Leaseholders are to be spared cladding bills. That's good news. Hundreds of thousands of leaseholders are to be spared the cost of stripping Grenfell-style cladding from their properties after the government backed down and said it would make the building industry pay instead. Well, I think that rights a significant wrong. Meanwhile, the Queen might be asked to help pay off the Duke of York's legal bills if he decides to settle out of court with his accuser. That clearly is a story that's going to run and run. Let's head to The Independent. Another brilliant photograph of the legendary actor and film director Sidney Poitier brandishing his Oscar for Best Actor in 1964. An icon of cinema. Will reflect on his career shortly. Ministers playing games with law on Colston case as well. The government have been accused of trying to subvert the justice system after the Attorney General announced she may refer the Colston statue case to the Court of Appeal. Perhaps the government are a bit worried about the idea of people going around doing criminal damage and claiming that their motivation is political. The Daily Mirror, vaccination stampede, double-jabbed Brits in rush to book summer holes. Bookings hit pre-COVID levels as travel rules are eased. The Guardian, lawyers sound alarm at Tory meddling over Colston case. And Cummings makes new Number 10 party allegation. Dominic Cummings has alleged there was a lockdown-breaking party in the Downing Street garden 5 days after Boris Johnson and up to 17 staff were pictured in the same place with wine and cheese. Seriously, does anyone care about that anymore? Surely we've moved on from hashtag Winegate. And last but not least, the Daily Star, Exodus, bun fight to book holes. And Eamon, of course, Eamon Holmes, the star of the brand new breakfast show here on GB News with Isabel Webster. Eamon, touching my magic stick will cure me. TV legend, which indeed he is, and now, of course, of GB News, hopes to cure his devastating back pain with a magical stick. Did Gandalf do the same thing, or are we getting confused? Great news to see Eamon back where he belongs on national TV. And of course, as usual, making it on the front pages of the papers as well. Lots more to come. Let's get cracking. So, Headliners is a 7-day-a-week franchise, and I'll be in the host chair every Friday, Saturday and Sunday. You know the format. Tomorrow's newspaper front pages reflected on and dissected by the creme de la creme of British comedic talent. So joining me tonight, Steve N. Allen, a man who adds a touch of class to Headliners, and a man who touched himself in class, Leo Kearse.
I'm touching myself right now, Mark.
Well, I'm very flattered. Let me just say that's very normal for anyone that works with me. Now, gentlemen, where should we start? First of all, how are we, Leo? How are things?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
You continue to ignore the weather with your choice of clothing.
Oh, I put a jacket on when I go outside. So I've got this worked out, Mark. Scarf and jacket for outside, short sleeve shirt for inside.
All right, and as a Scotsman, when you put that jacket on in sub-Arctic January, were you sweating?
No, it's so cold. I wish we would have some climate change. We'd COP26 in Glasgow, and I'm not sure why they're trying to reverse it. I understand it might be a problem for warm countries, but not for the UK.
Yeah, Dundee is a great city, but it could certainly do with heating up a little bit.
Yeah.
How about you, Stephen? Are you well?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
You're looking very, very dapper. I mean, in comedy, you've obviously got to go for your brand, and you are there's a very sort of smart suit, tie, check shirt.
On the top half, nothing below. That's the rule.
There you go. Well, that's the lockdown look, isn't it?
Only reason I agreed to do the show.
Brilliant stuff. Well, let's crack on. And I've got to say, we've got so many amazing stories to get through. Let's have a look at a cover story in Saturday's Times about an escalation of Russian naval activity. Steve, tell me more. It's not good news, is it?
It's not. It's worrying news is what it is. We're not quite at the stage of shouting the word war and having the graphics, but it's a step towards it, which is the worry.
Can I just say our art department are ready?
Of course they are. First thing that was made. Yes, the new defence chief has warned of the Russian threat at sea. The interview that is given to the Times has some scary things, talking about the increase in Russian activity. Part of it is about, he says, that if they were to cut the cables in the Atlantic, ruining the internet, then that would be seen as an act of war, which I think we can all agree with. I mean, when Facebook goes down for half an hour, people take to Twitter to cry about how they can't use social media anymore. So if the internet went down, it would be a problem. But he's right about the increase in Russian activity. Earlier we saw the story about a Russian submarine colliding with a Royal Navy warship, or the sonar. You read the story in greater detail, you realise, I didn't realise that the sonar trails behind them quite a bit, and the Russian submarine dove, whatever your past participle is of choice, and ruined the sonar. So it's not it's a worrying story, but it's not quite as problematic as the headline gives you, because it turns out we hear about this, it happened in late 2020, but it was filmed by a Channel 5 crew who were on board at the time for their TV show Warship Life at Sea.
Right, oh, I see. I tell you what, though, I mean, I'm beginning to wonder whether actually Vladimir Putin, Leo, is not such a nice guy after all.
Well, yeah, and this comes at a time when, I mean, this is obviously why something from 2 years ago has made it into the news, because we've got 100,000 Russian troops on the border with Ukraine ready to go in and finish the job that they started with Crimea. And we've got Putin's cronies in Kazakhstan and Belarus, the sort of satellite dictators there that are very allied to Russia, are having all sorts of problems, and Putin's having his own problems at home. So yeah, this sort of this tub thumping. I'm surprised we haven't seen a picture of him naked riding a bear yet. So this tub thumping is...
That's the only thing I like about him, by the way. Whenever I have my doubts about Vladimir, I fire up that photograph. It's the screensaver on my computer. His ability to ride horseback topless is world class.
But this cable, people are worried about the cable being cut that carries our internet. Are we getting our oil and gas from Russia and our internet? We seem to be very dependent on Russia.
Well, yeah, I mean, countries don't need to attack each other anymore in a military sense, do they? I mean, for example, the Chinese, if they were to bring down satellites that provide GPS information or indeed, other sort of 5G transmissions, all the rest of it.
Pornhub.
Pornhub is a key one, or for me, just some boring news website, because I'm an older man. But look, I mean, in the end, this is in many ways where the battles will be fought now, infrastructure.
Right.
And that's a worry. I mean, don't you think?
I think there should be another cable just in case they cut the first one. I mean, it does make the internet
nice trick.
Yeah, that'll get them. They'll never...
Disguise it.
Paint fish on.
Now you're talking. There you go. We've solved that problem for you, Home Office and also Foreign Office. Let's take a look at our next story, the passing of a cinematic legend. Sidney Poitier has died at the age of 94. Let's take a look at one of his most famous scenes.
Mr. Colbert, ever in this greenhouse, say last night about midnight.
Gillespie? Yeah. You saw it.
I saw it.
Well, what are you going to do about it?
The Mirror are running that story, as are most of the newspapers with their front pages. An icon of cinema, and perhaps he somehow transcends the genre of cinema into something else.
Yeah, I mean, he's a political icon as well. He opened doors for black entertainers that came after him. He had a 71-year career, which is incredible. And he brought a real gravitas and almost statesmanship to his roles. Unfortunately, he's died at the age of 94. He also wrote several autobiographies. He fit a lot into his life. Plays. He managed to have an affair as well, and also he affected UK comedy. Of course, Ricky Gervais referenced him in The Office when David Brent was trying to appear not racist. He told his black colleague that his favourite actor was Mr. Sidney Poitier.
Yeah, that's right. I do remember that amazing scene. But the point about this guy is that he won awards and he sold box office tickets because he was a great actor. And that's why his contribution is so important, that the story was not his skin colour.
Yeah, but almost the story that you would presume would have been the bad news, the barriers, then the story becomes you don't need to listen to the barriers. I think that's the message that you get. The reason you presume you'll be told no by society can be ignored, and you can go on and achieve greatness. And also, to write that many autobiographies, you think, how do you write that many books? The fact that you could fill it, I'd barely fill a pamphlet. In comparison, I'm embarrassed that you could have that much work. 94, though, good inning. I always like to think that whenever we hear a sad story of someone passing, the fact they had a full and long life, we can only wish for the same.
Absolutely. Rest in peace, a truly great man, a true icon of cinema, Sidney Poitier. Up next in Saturday's Independent, the government have wasted huge amounts of money. I can't believe it, Steve.
I know. You wait till you get the details. You'll be shocked. Dominic Raab's department wasted a staggering, they call it, £238 million on an array of botched projects. Is it staggering? Are you staggered? Or do you think, yeah, makes sense. Dominic Raab, anyone who thinks
the pandemic has just made all of these figures meaningless now. It's monopoly money, isn't it?
They're not all pandemic-related losses as well. Some of the schemes include an electronic tagging system that was never used. I mean, people...
Was that for Dominic Raab to work out where in the world he was on holiday?
It's the only way we could find out. Money well spent. We'll take that one off.
Dominic Raab on Find My iPhone. He's in Minorca at the moment, enjoying the all-inclusive buffet. By the way, which department now? Is this his ex-department of the Foreign Office, or is it the Justice Department? Do we know?
Justice.
Right. So they've okay.
This is why ankle tags involved in the justice side of things. Also, some of the other things include humiliatingly, HM Courts and Tribunal Services spent £18 million on software that is so bad, staff are now threatening to go on strike. Not even Windows Vista was that bad.
That is saying something.
There is a bit of good news, just while we're totting up the total. £72 million had to be paid back from his department to HMRC because of incorrectly reporting employment status. So, meanwhile, in good news, HMRC's got some money that it was correctly owed. So, end on a positive.
Well, there you go. We definitely have our glasses half full on this programme.
It's refreshing to see money being wasted by the government accidentally instead of being siphoned away in dodgy COVID contracts by, Owen Patterson and Michelle Mone and whoever else is grafting away.
Well, yeah, I mean, are you ashamed of Michelle Mone's behaviour or alleged behaviour?
No,
she's one of the most high-profile Scottish businesswomen, isn't she?
I'm wearing one of her bras right now. It's very comfortable. It fits me perfectly.
Is it a sports bra?
It is, yes. Yeah, I'm playing some squash after this. But no, I mean, with people like Michelle Mone, she's made so much money. Like millions and millions of pounds. So just the fact that they feel the need to graft even more money, and like from the government. So it's basically taking money away that would be spent on kidney dialysis machines or schools.
Yeah, that would be a nice idea, wouldn't it? Back to some proper priorities. Well, look, more from my amazing panel. This is the season premiere of Weekend Headliners. We're here till midnight with more stories from tomorrow's front pages. And here's something to titillate you. And this is more exciting than Leo's sports bra. You've heard, haven't you, of ghost ships? What about ghost planes? Find out after the weather.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello, it's looking rather changeable across the UK through this weekend with some heavy rain and some strong winds for many parts on Saturday. Sunshine and showers though by Sunday, and temperatures will be a little bit higher than they have been of late. If we look at the pressure pattern then, you can see the reason why. This frontal system will continue to spread in from the west over the next 24 hours, bringing that heavy rain and strong winds. But ahead of it, some quite cold air in place across the UK. So as we see rain clearing eastern parts, a real risk of some icy patches across parts of England with a warning of force for that. But cloud will thicken as we head through the night as rain spreads its way eastward. Some of that rain could be quite heavy, and we could see a spell of snow across high ground in northern England and Scotland for a time once again. It'll still be cold in the east, but further towards the west, those temperatures will lift through the night, so turning noticeably milder as we head through the early hours of Saturday morning. So we get off to a rather wet start on Saturday morning, a really quite disappointing start to the weekend, really. Some quite heavy rain around, still some snow across high ground of Scotland for a time, and particularly heavy rain across South Wales and southwest England through the day, and still those strong winds accompany that rain as well. Now gradually that will clear the southeast later on in the day, and behind it brighter, sunnier skies, still a rash of showers though, and again wintry across parts of the north, and still staying windy with gales towards the southwest. A milder day though, like I said. Now through the rest of Saturday into the evening and overnight, still a mixture then by this point of clear spells and showers. Some of the showers again could be quite heavy, particularly towards the north and the west, still wintry over higher ground in particular, but in those clear skies with that cold air in place once again, it will turn chilly. Temperatures in towns and cities probably hovering just above freezing, but colder than that in the countryside. So again, we could see some frost and ice around. So as we start Sunday morning, then generally a brighter start to the day compared to Saturday morning. Some sunshine first thing. Still, though, some showers towards the north and the west. Again, wintry in places. Through the day, some of those showers will start to feed their way eastwards, and we could see a more organised band of rain and hill snow through the afternoon. Temperatures a little bit lower than they will be on Saturday. I think feeling chilly if you're in those showers. Quick look ahead to the early part of next week. Then a lot of cloud around, some patchy rain in places, but gradually turning drier through the week and staying mild.
Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview Channel 236.
On Sky, we're Channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Welcome back to the season premiere of Weekend Headliners. That's right, Headliners is now a hit franchise, which is 7 days a week here on GB News from 11 till midnight, every Friday, Saturday and Sunday. I have the privilege of being in the host's chair. And as always, I'll be joined by two brilliant comedians. Tonight, it's Leo Kearse and Steve N. Allen. Now, up next, we have The Times with further developments in Kazakhstan. This is looking foreboding, Leo.
Yes, it is for the people of Kazakhstan and for Kazakhstan's presidents. There have been protests in Kazakhstan. 3 years ago, the government decided to end subsidies on LPG, which is widely used as fuel for vehicles in Kazakhstan. And the price of LPG... I wish they'd just decided to use petrol right now.
You can buy gay people in Kazakhstan. That's quite
well, you
interesting.
probably... I mean, yes, basically. So, you know, with the cost of living going up, and this should be a warning to political leaders in the West as well, because we're seeing soaring inflation in the UK and Europe and America as well.
Yeah.
So Kazakhstan's president, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, has personally given, and he's admitted to this, personally given the order to security forces and the army to open fire with lethal force on protesters.
That sounds worse than Australia.
And he's slightly worse than Australia, and he's referring to them as bandits and terrorists, so that is similar to Australia. But yeah, in 2019, he became president and promised to modernise the country and be more open and tolerant, and that's all been thrown out the window. The internet's been turned off, so people can only get information from state media, but people are reporting that there are, hundreds of people being treated in hospital, dozens of people being killed. And these are peaceful, mainly peaceful demonstrations. And the allied countries, backed by Putin, under the moniker of the Collective Security Treaty Organization, which is a sort of NATO, but if it was all dictators, they've been sending troops and armaments to help him quash these protests. So yeah, it's very worrying. I mean, the Kazakhstan has become more authoritarian over the years, and now the president's got the choice of absolutely crushing and slaughtering his own people, or rolling over and leaving office.
That's an absolutely shocking story. Well, let's head to the Daily Mail now. And this one feels like the plot of a 90s movie. The Spine Collector. Steve, tell me more.
The Spine Collector. Yeah, skullduggery at work here. So this is a man who worked for a publishing company. Already it's less scary, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
It's book-related.
It's lost some of its lustre with the word publishing, I do agree.
Yeah, and the spines that he was collecting, spoiler alert, it's the book. So he's appeared in a New York court pleading not guilty to stealing manuscripts from authors, including Margaret Atwood and Ethan Hawke.
By the way, there's a sliding scale of quality. Margaret Atwood, Ethan Hawke, OK.
And some in between.
But it makes you wonder why he didn't just wait a few months until it's in Stansted Airport, W.H. Smith's for a £5.
Yeah, it's true. In special large print.
Yeah.
Why are books in the airport bigger? What's that all about?
Because at altitude, your eyes focus further away.
Is that right?
No.
Sounds like more junk science. After 2 years of lockdowns, I'm starting to believe you.
So the way he did it is it's effectively a phishing scam, that he would set up websites and email addresses, changing one letter. So it would be things like instead of an M, it would be an R and an N. And that is quite clever, and maybe I should register all the ones I could right now. And then pretend to be people in other publishing companies, get copies of these manuscripts, but do nothing with them. He didn't sell any of them. So the prosecutors claim he was nicking ideas from them to write his own book, but he's not written a book. Faces 20 years behind bars for aggravated identity theft.
But are these existing books like sort of first editions or something, or is it new material that hasn't been released? Do we know?
Yeah, manuscripts before release. So he wanted to get these ideas before they're, and then somehow pre-publish, I guess.
I mean, I think for me the big story is that the actor Ethan Hawke has still got a publisher. I mean,
He's written 6 books, apparently.
Is that right?
Yeah. But this guy wasn't selling the manuscripts. He wasn't making money from it. He was just doing it because, for the thrill of the chase. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or, as you say, just not having to buy the book. He's got away with $9.99. That's all he's got away with.
Outrageous.
Buy a Kindle.
I mean, in some ways, it's just a kind of elaborate example of office pilfering, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Have you ever stolen anything from? Oh, and of course, you're comedians. You've never had a job.
I've got a GBNews stapler in my pocket right now.
Has it got the word Amen Tipexed on it? If so, you're in big trouble. How about our next story? And it's one story that also sounds like a plot similar to our previous one. It's from the Mail, and it's positively Shakespearean in its complexity, Leo.
This story blew my mind. It's incredible. So basically, an upmarket pub landlord who's wrongly jailed. There is. He ran a pub called the Snooty Fox.
That will do it.
You're getting into double digits for a Sunday.
This is not Al Murray territory.
No, this isn't a Wetherspoons. This is nice. Not that there's anything wrong with Wetherspoons. I love the breakfast. I love the unlimited coffee. But
there's a man who knows his audience.
Yeah. But yeah, basically, so he had some sort of spat. Well, this is the accusation. He had some sort of spat with the lover of a council chief. Served her the wrong bottle of wine, and then in retaliation, she said that she had food poisoning from eating pate in his pub. And then, because she was the lover of this council chief had a complete vendetta against Mr. Geoffrey Monks, and ended up seeing him. So he owned 3 pubs. Ended up seeing him being imprisoned next to Ian Huntley. Which seems insane for a breach of food safety violation.
It's a touch disproportionate, I think.
Yeah, and also, I mean, these food safety violations were clearly, it looks like they were concocted. And so now he's been given £14 million from the council as a payoff. So, I mean, isn't this just a classic example of why the public sector, why the state, the power should be limited? This is like something you get in Soviet Russia.
Yeah.
The lover of a party apparatchik, getting him to punish somebody who's just over a little tip. He brought the wrong bottle of wine, so we're going to destroy him, send him to prison. It's absolutely disgusting. And taxpayers' money was used to persecute him, and then taxpayers' money is being used to give him a payoff. Yeah. So, is the taxpayers...
And also, getting food poisoning in a pub, that's a sign of a good night out, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm not, hacking up my kidneys into the toilet at 2 a.m, after a big night, I want my money back.
Yeah.
I love the fact that she complained about mouldy ham, but I do think you put the word artisanal in front of it.
Do you know what I'm
People
saying?
pay extra, don't they?
100%. Yeah, and of course, what a shocking thing to be stuck next to an evil prisoner like Ian Huntley.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a slightly sort of low-level criminal, you'd want to be in a cell with someone that steals book manuscripts, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah. Imagine he's in the showers and people are like, what are you in for? And he's like, oh, somebody came in and got diarrhea because they ate some of my patty.
Yes.
That's not quite the same level.
It definitely hasn't got the same ring to it. Well, you'll have heard of... Yeah, forgive me, that was ruder than it was meant to be. But it is 11:30. You've heard of ghost ships. How about ghost planes? This from The Telegraph, Steve.
Yeah, they're blaming the EU. Well, it is The Telegraph. But this time, absolutely rightly. The EU red tape...
I think it's time we got out, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Look at you taking a side. Wow.
Who knew?
I'm glad you wrote both letters, though, just in case.
Always.
So there's some red tape that is forcing thousands of planes to still fly. There's no one on them. There's a pilot and co-pilot, one would imagine. But they don't have any passengers. The rules state that you have to keep flying these planes, or a certain percentage, to guarantee your landing rights, these landing slots. Surely, I mean, maybe that's a good rule. But during a pandemic when, I don't know, maybe the flights aren't going as much because no one's going anywhere, you'd think it's time to change the rules a little bit. It's a bizarre, I think it's the same as having, we struggle to get people bringing stuff in due to lorry drivers and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Supply
chain crisis, yeah.
Why were we not stowing all this stuff in the overhead locker, all the foods that we couldn't get? Because if we were flying them around empty, let's turn them into cargo.
Absolutely brilliant thing. So, Mr. Kipling sort of Bakewell slices.
Put that underneath the seat in front of you because they'd fit. Yeah.
Are they made in, are you telling me Mr. Kipling's Bakewell slices are made in Greece?
Probably Poland. Cadbury's chocolate is, let's be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Afraid so, yeah. Lots of their chocolate. I think Dairy Milk and some of the others are now... from the EU.
The airlines and environmentalists upset about this because, and look, there's a tweet from Greta, she's upset, and I think this is a time when she's right to be upset because imagine spending 3 weeks, whatever it was, in a small yacht, pooping into a small bucket, going all the way to America, saving some carbon. Like hundreds of times more carbon have been wasted just to tick a box.
Yeah.
It's the only time that people are going to be on her side, I think.
Yeah, too right. Well, look, moving on, in Saturday's Independent, we've got this harrowing story about Afghan women under the Taliban. Leo, when we witnessed that botched Allied departure from Afghanistan, we knew it was bad news for the world, but obviously bad news for the people in that country.
Yeah, and we're learning of the aftermath of it now. So Biden pulled America out of Afghanistan and just left them to the mercy of the Taliban. They thought it would take months for the Taliban to come back in and take over again. It took about a weekend. And now the people, the Afghanistan people who worked for the security services, the police, things that were associated with the West and the apparatus that the West put in power.
And who were very loyal to the West.
And remember, we were there for about 20 years.
Yeah.
So, it was a long time. So now they're being hunted down by the Taliban. So they interview a woman, a former agent with the National Directorate of Security, which is Afghanistan's National Intelligence Service. She fled to hide in villages after the Taliban seized control of her city, and she's now afraid she can't get medical treatment because if she goes to the doctor, they'll get her name and she'll be reported to the Taliban. She can't go back to her original house to collect her clothes because her neighbours will report her to the Taliban. And the Taliban, of course, hate her for two reasons. She worked in national security with the West, and she's a woman. So, they've got a double whammy against her. And it just really, this really shows the personal impact. It's a great story in the Independent. It shows the personal impact of our withdrawal from Afghanistan.
Yeah, absolutely shocking. Such an injustice to those people that were, as we've said, very loyal to the Western cause for 2 decades, just thrown under the bus by a rather heartless regime in Washington. Of course, that's just my view, but clearly history will judge. Now, look, lots more to get through. It's time for a quick break, but more front page stories. After this, is Boris Johnson in more trouble? See you in 2.
Hello there, I'm Eamon.
And I'm Isabel.
And you're watching the GB News digital stream across the United Kingdom.
And around the world.
If you're here in the UK, you can also watch us on your TV screen. GB News is Freeview channel 236.
On Sky, we're channel 515.
626 on Virgin Media.
Just remember, you might need to retune your TV to watch the channel.
Yeah, and if you are doing that, find out more about retuning by going to gbnews.uk.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilized conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
Big opinions and big laughs. It is Weekend Headliners with me, Mark Dolan. I'll be in the host's chair every Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Dissecting the big stories from tomorrow's newspapers are the brilliant comedians Steve N. Allen and Leo Kearse. So let's get to The Guardian. Turns out Ladbrokes have been claiming furlough money in spite of huge profits. What are the odds of them getting away with this one, Steve?
It's all my jokes gone. I can't believe it.
I spent all afternoon working on that.
And it was worth it.
I can hear the laughter across the national airwaves.
Think of what else you'd have done with that time. So we're grateful you did that instead. Yeah, I mean, that's the story. £101.5 million of furlough money. I mean, what's that? A gambling firm has no issue taking money from someone. And there's your surprise. It's owned by a global betting company called Entain, which saw large profits because lots of people were doing online gambling during the lockdowns. As if living in a lockdown might not be enough of a gamble. Go out and shake hands with someone and let's, you know, if you want the thrill, lick a handrail. But they were making more money online. Admittedly, the actual shops, the betting shops, were closed, as many things were closed. So that includes Ladbrokes and Coral, owned by the same company. They saw revenues go from 983 million to 681 million. Still a massive profit. This is not like, oh no, we've made a loss. You've done all right out of this. They always say you never see someone who runs a betting shop driving home in a bad car.
Yeah.
So I think you know where the money's going to end up in this. Just for contrast, William Hill repaid their furlough money, 24.5 million, and the owners of Paddy Power never took any.
Is that right? Interesting. Yeah, well, they say the bookies never lose, Leo.
Well, I think it's unfair to blame people. Like, the government came out with this furlough scheme and they legitimately and correctly took it. And then people are like, oh, no, but you shouldn't have taken it. It's like, well, don't let them take it. How about the government doesn't bring out all these ridiculous schemes where people can take loads of taxpayers' money?
Yeah, it's true. It's a bit like employing an accountant to be tax efficient. You're not breaking the law. I mean, there might be a moral debate around it, but, you know, you're no criminal.
If you're working within the rules, then you're doing exactly what a company... If I was a shareholder, then that's exactly what I'd want them to do.
So does that mean you'll be repaying that bounce-back loan? 2 years ago?
There's a PR battle there as well. There's PR side of it. And actually, if I were on this board, I'd be thinking, oh, we're starting to look bad in comparison to the Paddy Power one and the other competitors. Maybe I would like to see some better headlines.
But if I was a gambler, I'd be thinking that money, that extra money is going to be paid out in winnings.
On the slots.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think something's going to have to be done about the gambling industry? Because I think it's a dilemma. It's a bit like the fast food industry. I mean, I think it's everyone's human right to have a bad diet if they want to and to eat junk food. But clearly there are huge implications for the public's health. Similarly with gambling, you know, it's basically a really bad idea for many people to gamble. But yet, a huge net contributor to HMRC, a big employer, and and lots of people enjoy gambling.
But socially, the damage it does, I mean, it's a tax on the poor and desperate, and the damage it does socially, I don't know if you can square it off. It's just so easy to get access to gambling, and also the money that's raised from gambling, like the National Lottery, the money it's taken from poor and desperate people and given to the ballet and the opera. Why are poor people being taxed to pay for the follies of the rich?
I mean, what would you do about gambling? I mean, you're a bit of a libertarian, so I can't imagine you'd ban it.
I don't know. My dad loves a flutter on the horses, so I don't think you can take that away from people. But I mean, obviously, if you've got parents who are spending the kids' chip money on
well, listen, we have to be grateful. If he wasn't a gambler, you might not be here. He took a chance on Mrs. Curse. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
I don't know if that's exactly how the courtship process worked, but
I've got the video. It's word for word. Well, look, interesting stuff. We'll move on from Leo's paternity if we can, and it's on to Saturday's Telegraph, which is the ultimate palate cleanser, isn't it? Totally. Another story about an accusation of a lockdown-breaking party at Downing Street. This time, the garden party. Leo, I know that during the pandemic, there were many examples of the good and the great telling us one thing and then doing another.
Yeah.
But I think that our viewers are just over this Partygate story. I think the political collateral damage has happened, and I don't think people are interested. But am I wrong?
Well, somebody needs to tell Dominic Cummings, because he keeps writing about it on his blog.
The bitter ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, throwing everyone under the bus. There's a new one that Dominic Cummings has revealed on his blog, and it's been written about in the Telegraph. It's behind a paywall, but don't worry, I can tell you for free right now. So this is Martin Reynolds, the Prime Minister's principal private secretary, issued an email invitation for the Downing Street garden gathering. 3 sources have told the Telegraph. So it had a real sort of party vibe to it, and various people, were senior staff were angered by the tone of the invite. Various people said, "Martin, what the F?" Adding, people went up to him and asked if it was a good idea. And said, "Are you mad?" So, it was a knees up. It was an informal get together. Bring your own booze. So totally not. I mean, I think it was on the exact same day that a cabinet minister urged the public to meet only one other person outdoors while adhering to social distancing rules. So no prawn rings, no bottles of Lambrini. But yeah, I mean, it just shows the government were making rules, they weren't following them. And anybody following the rules at this point is the sort of person who pays for their own carrier.
Listen, perhaps I've been drinking the Kool-Aid, Steve, but isn't there an element here of civil servants and government ministers working together in close proximity during a pandemic, and then after 9 o'clock having wine and cheese in that same location?
I know the point you're aiming for there. I think, just to say the dullest sentence I've ever said in my life, it's a cost-benefit issue, isn't it? That the cost of not meeting up socially is small. Who cares if these people didn't have a wine party? Not going to work, the cost's bigger. So actually, it's the same argument that people make about wearing a mask in a restaurant. Oh, what, I don't wear it when I'm sat down, but I do to the door. Well, if you're sat down, you can't wear the mask, otherwise all the food's going to go on your shirt. The cost is higher, but it feels pointless to wear the mask from the door to the seat. The cost is small, so that's why they say it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair counterbalance to that story. Well, I'm sure that those bitter rantings from Dominic Cummings will keep us busy for many months to come. Now, are we underestimating the negative effects of cannabis? Steve, I'm not referring to your physical state at the moment, by the way. You're a picture of health.
It's more chocolate that's done this to me, which I can see how that's a secondary.
Polish Cadbury's chocolate, by any chance?
Yeah, you can tell by the way it's spelt.
But look, your body's a temple.
Yeah.
I mean, you can barely handle strong tea. So what's going on with cannabis?
It's like the tube station temple.
Yes,
lots of people have used it. So Robin Murray, a professor at King's College London, has said that maybe we need to be, or that parents aren't aware enough of the risk of the strong cannabis, the way in which it could affect the mental health of people. And the more research that's coming out is saying this strong version of cannabis is the worry. And there are plans to end prosecution in certain areas. And he's saying we need to then, well, he doesn't just say this is a concern, which he does say is a concern, but then says we need to look at the stats of what this does to issues of the suicide rate in the area, other crimes that would be committed. Well, I see his point, but it doesn't half feel like he's saying, oh, you know, those areas where we're going to end the prosecution, let's run it as an experiment. Let's let this happen to people and measure, and which means effectively, if these people are being treated like an experiment, they will feel paranoid and we won't know what to blame it on.
That's true. And where do they go for their munchies? I mean, what do you think about this, Leo? Because I think there are parallels with the gambling conversation. I feel that the genie has escaped the lamp when it comes to drugs like cannabis.
Yeah, I mean, people can easily buy cannabis, so decriminalising it does make a lot of sense and giving people the responsibility to look after it. It's just interesting for me, they're talking about the higher levels of THC and actual psychoactive compounds that are making the cannabis more dangerous. And when I was growing up, we had soap bar hash. Because I don't know if you know this about the UK, but all the drugs come into the UK through the bottom of the country. So by the time they get up to Scotland, all the nice drugs have been taken by, well, you lot.
Yeah.
And we're just left with the absolute dross.
Westminster cabinet ministers, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So we soap bar hash. It was like the compressed sweepings of the hash factory floor. It was like the Lidl sausage.
Now, was
roll
this
of the
that
hash
kind of
bar.
80s sort of resin type stuff that people used to light with a lighter and then crumble?
Yeah.
Am I showing too much knowledge here?
It had bits of plastic.
Bang goes my opportunity to become the next prime minister.
It had bits of plastic in it, so you're smoking bits of plastic.
Is that right?
They'd string out while you're burning it into your joint, and you'd think.
And was that worse than square sausages?
Between the square sausages and smoking plastic, I think it's a miracle I'm actually here to tell this tale.
It is important, isn't it, that we're just aware of what we're putting into our bodies, and especially young people, because the sort of long-term legacy for your mental health of some of this really strong cannabis is, I mean, it's not on a par with the kind of, I mean, essentially back in the day, in the 60s, cannabis was a plant and people would smoke that plant.
And it was weak, but now it's been bred, so the amount of THC, which is the compound that induces psychosis, is much, much higher, as many as like 20 times higher.
And it's a chemical, isn't it? I mean, isn't it? It's sort of an artificial product, this new form of cannabis.
You can get edibles and things that have the THC isolated. But yeah, the new breeds of skunk, it's like pedigree dogs. They can breed it for certain characteristics. So if you breed it for the THC, then you've got a Springer Spaniel that'll really get you.
Really mess you up.
So there you go. Listen, any dogs watching, just say no. Just say woof. Now, let's move on. The United Arab Emirates moves to a Western-style weekend. No, that doesn't mean they'll be washing the car and getting drunk in Wetherspoons. It means they'll be moving their weekend from Thursday, Friday to Saturday, Sunday. Leo, tell me more.
Yeah, so this is in the United Arab Emirates, reported in the Guardian. They've previously moved the weekend before, and now they're moving it again to a Saturday, Sunday weekend to bring it in line, because there's a lot of finance and banking in Dubai and the United Arab Emirates. They want to align it with other countries.
Yeah, because they're aiming to be one of the great financial hubs of the world, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Rival the City of London, for example.
Yeah, but then some people are angry about it because they're used to having the Friday off. Although a neighbouring, are they called an emirate? Sharjah, it's found a simple solution to keep everybody happy. So they have a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday as a 3-day weekend. And
now you're talking.
And of course, during lockdown, we trialled a 7-day weekend, which seemed to be very popular with people. 80% of your salary.
Lots of people on furlough enjoyed it. I mean, I was in Norway, and I noticed that in Norway, people there work very, very hard Monday to Thursday, and they have a half day on Friday. And it's quite a tradition for workers to actually go to the pub after lunch. Sounds very civilised to me, on a Friday. So the weekend starts halfway through Friday.
Halfway through Friday, yeah. Well, up north, when I worked in factories, because from Mansfield and all my summer jobs...
and you're good with your hands?
Good with my hands, yeah. That's what's on the business cards. But, factories used to kick out halfway through a Friday. So if you worked in a factory, you get Friday afternoon off. If you're working in shops in the old days, Wednesday afternoon was off. He's not going to travel up north, is he?
No, but I can tell you that my producer, Cal, has told me that They actually used a certain name where he came from in the north. What was this anagram you came up with, Cal? Poets' Day, and that means piss off early, tomorrow's Saturday.
Oh. Well, I didn't hear a bleep.
And on that inflammatory note, we'll move swiftly on. Brilliant stuff. Well, look, next a story in The Telegraph about how a certain television company has been cheating banks out of millions of pounds. Steve.
How is this story scarier than The Spine Collector?
Correct.
And it really is. A television company duped banks for the loans up to £280 million. That's some proper dosh there. Arena Television, which worked on the Euro 2020 tournament, abruptly ended and disappeared. The bosses can't be found as well. So they borrowed money to buy some kit. And television kit is expensive. You know, you get all this stuff is expensive, which explains why the talent gets paid so little. I think that's what they explained to me. And then they were asked to show some serial numbers of the stuff they borrowed against. And one of the serial numbers showed up as being fake, which I just love that tension. It would have been like a really long odds lottery that you just type in a number and they could have got lucky. They could have just hit the one and go, oh, well, you bought the special 2.0, did you? But didn't. They've now disappeared with all that money. And they provided outside broadcast trucks to the BBC, ITV and Sky. The CEOs haven't been found, so I guess the trucks were real.
Oh, yeah, sounds like it to me. What do you think about that one, Leo?
Yeah, I mean,
isn't
it's insane that in this day and age, with everybody being electronically tagged and you know tracked through their phones and everything, that people can just steal this money from banks. It evaporates and they disappear like something that would happen, like great train robbers. You know, they also took money from the government, so they were granted £800,000 in taxpayer loans during the crisis, and also told furloughed staff to come into work for free. Which I know people who work for businesses in London were also told to come into work in breach of the rules while they were getting furloughed to stay at home. So it did happen.
They should work for Ladbrokes.
Yeah, now you're talking. Well, listen, Headliners is always a lively show. Apologies to anyone offended by the P word. Let's move on now to Norway. We mentioned them earlier in the programme. Well, they have one of the largest sovereign wealth funds in the world and an abundance of natural resources. But The Guardian tells us they can't afford underwear for their own troops. Leo, your underwear has been a perennial theme of tonight's show.
Yeah.
Tell me about the soldiers with no Y-fronts.
Well, they're not using my trick of turning it inside out and wearing it the second week. But so basically, it turns out that Norway has got an insanely large sovereign wealth fund because they don't spend any of it. So Norwegian conscripts, bear in mind, these have been risking sniper fire on the Norwegian border with Finland or whatever. No, they've been they guard the upper border of NATO, which could actually feasibly, you know, they could see some action over the coming months.
Especially if they've got no underwear.
Yeah. They've got about 8,000.
The ultimate invitation, isn't it?
I mean, literally going commando. That is, so they've got 8,000 young men and women, and they give them military issue underwear. I bet that chafes.
Oh, I bet it does.
Nothing sounds like chafe more than military issue bra. But socks and bras, and they've said you've got to send them back. And not only have you got to send them back, you've got to wash them before you send them back. So now they've all got to go around to their mum's place and get them washed as well.
Isn't it nice to hear about the perfect country of Norway for once dropping the ball or balls?
Well, literally both balls. There's nothing to catch them.
I can't help but think, though, that if someone, you're right, they're in a place where they might have been shot at. If you hear something that sounds like sniper fire, I imagine whatever you do next means those pants are never going to be worn by anyone else ever again.
I wouldn't want second-hand army pants.
Yeah. Ooh.
There's a thought. Probably some on eBay as we speak. Steve, you can close out the show with a story about South Korea.
Yeah. The presidential favourite has come up with the thing that would make me vote for him. Voted to give free hair loss treatment to people. Yes, this is what we need. This is the favourite to win. The election in March has promised free hair loss treatments on the National Health Service. It gets my vote. I don't even live there. We should have it over here because, look, there are loads of elective surgeries you can get if you say it impacts your mental health. And I can cry on demand. So surely I could just turn up and be like...
It's actually not a bad shout. But the problem is, I mean, if you had, like, a rich mane, you would lose your brand. You're known for your Bruce Willis-type close shave.
Oh, I would have gone Jason Statham, but it's nice of you to...
Yeah, where do you go on the old Statham versus Willis divide.
I would have gone Phil Mitchell.
Yeah,
Really?
the more.
Yeah, what you want to avoid is William Hague. I think that's a rule of thumb in life generally, isn't it? I mean, that's not the first politician to bribe its population, is it, Leo?
Yeah, and this is some that, I mean, it really affects men. I've had a hair transplant. And,
a very successful one. You look amazing.
Yeah, a very cheap one as well. I went to Turkey and
apparently all of it's on your shoulders. Is that right?
It is when I'll grow it out.
So I've heard.
Tarzan.
No. I'm not going to lie. Your barnet is absolutely brilliant.
Thank you very much.
So it's money well spent.
I'll pass on the email for the.
Well, please do. Yeah. I'm definitely on my way.
Just to make a serious point here, I don't think we've had a bald prime minister since Churchill or Attlee. So in that time we've had 2 female prime ministers. So where's the real prejudice?
Yeah, maybe Liz Truss will shave off all her hair just to get elected. Who knows? It could be the return of the baldies. Brilliant stuff. Well, look, gentlemen, it's been a really lively hour, and it's been a thrill to have you for my inaugural headliners. Thank you for making it such a delight and so easy and pleasant. These lads will be back, of course, very soon because they are part of the A-team here on Headliners. We've got a collection of the finest British comedic talent. I'll be back with 2 more comedy legends tomorrow at 11, and I'll see you at 9.
It's time to remind ourselves there's always another winter. Canary Islands sponsors the weather.
Hello, it's looking rather changeable across the UK through this weekend, with some heavy rain and some strong winds for many parts on Saturday. Sunshine and showers, though, by Sunday, and temperatures will be a little bit higher than they have been of late. If we look at the pressure pattern then, you can see the reason why. This frontal system will continue to spread in from the west